Welcome back, everyone. I am really excited to have this conversation today with Tia, who has been a client and a colleague and a friend for a while now. And so it's been really fun to see her journey and where she started from and where she is today. So we are going to dive right on in. This is going to be especially helpful for those of you who do aspire to have, a multi-six-figure coaching practice while maintaining some free time, some boundaries, and all of that good stuff. So welcome, Tia.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Why don't we start off, share a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we will dive in.
Yeah. So my name is Tia Slightham. I am a parenting coach, but first and foremost, I'm also a mom. So I live that busy life, and I really wanted to help parents understand how easy and enjoyable parenting could actually be. But I didn't want to do that at the cost of minimizing and taking away my own motherhood and my own time and the things that were important to me. And so over the past, I don't know how many even years now it was a hobby and now it's a real business. I've really built this business where I'm able to support parents, but also enjoy my time and support my family.
Mm-hmm. I think it was maybe 2 years ago that we started working together. Was it before COVID or after COVID?
I had been running what you would call a hobby for a number of years before I joined 10K.
Okay.
And then it was when COVID just hit that I decided to join 10K, which felt kind of scary, not knowing what the world was going to do, but it was the best decision I'd ever made.
Right. Okay. So I want to just take people back because right now, when we're recording this, just to give a real timeline. So we are recording this in February 2023, COVID hit March of 2020. So like 3 years.
And
3
I
years
joined
ago.
April 2020.
Okay, so April 2020. So like three-ish, little less than 3 years ago, you had nothing online, zero things.
I had a couple modules that I would send as PDFs after I did a phone consult one-on-one.
Right. Okay, but that was it. Like you didn't have what you have now.
No.
Like you didn't have an email, you didn't have a TikTok, you didn't have a Facebook, like you had nothing.
I did not have any of that.
Okay.
No.
And you had no online. Just to give the context, because I love, me, like I love giving the real behind the scenes because I want to sort of dispel this myth that getting to where you are happens in 90 days, right? Yeah. I want to dispel the myth that getting to where you are, where we're talking about having a sustainable business, not just, a coaching practice. Because I think that there's a big difference and you don't just sell offers. Like you have a business that you can take a vacation from. You have a business that generates money and clients while you are doing the mom thing or whatever the case may be, where you don't necessarily have to show up and make the offers over and over and over again. So I want to be really clear on what it is that we're talking about, because I do think that there's so many different examples online. So I just want to be really transparent and really clear. And when you and I started talking in my DMs, you were not convinced that this was possible for you. Do you want to just share a little bit about that mindset and then we'll fast forward?
Yeah, I was really doubting that what Lori was talking about would actually, one, help me, but also a parenting coach. It was this kind of paradigm that it was only going to help somebody who is in health and wellness and that it wasn't for me. And I really got hung up on that. And until Lori finally just said to me, it will work for you. You either do it or don't do it. Basically, shit or get off the pot. I was like, okay, fine. What have I got to lose? I don't have a business now. I have a hobby. I'm grinding it out and it's not really giving me what I want. I might as well give it a go. And diving in and just kind of letting go of all those fears and letting Lori guide me, I would never be where I am today if I didn't have that foundation and that one offer and that one program.
Yeah. And I remember that, like we were going back and forth for a while in my DMs and all of the questions were valid. They were valid, but they're coming from this place of fear, which, and again, rightfully so, which is also why I do these podcasts. It's why I share. It's because I think when you're at that beginning stage, you feel like you're the only one with the fear, like you're the only one that this isn't going to work for. You're the only one that, you're the only one. It's like the only one syndrome, which I just thought of and I should turn into like a whole Instagram thing.
Whole thing.
But it's like you feel like that. And so it's my goal to really really share as transparently as possible, what the possibilities are and allow whoever's listening to sort of step into them. Because again, we're talking about a business. And so it's not, for me to force. I never sort of forced you. It was always just like, this exists. It does work. If you would like to do it, let's go. If not, make that decision, because sitting in this, I don't know, that's painful.
Yeah. And it doesn't get you anywhere. And really for me, it was sort of like what I say to my clients when they realize what they're doing something in their parenting and they're like, oh, shoot, I'm actually doing that. You did that for me. You kind of hit me with an awareness flag. It was like, do you have an email list? Do you have a lead magnet? Do you have a way to drive traffic? Do you have an offer? Do you have a way to one to many? And I was like, nope. Holy moly. I really need these things if I'm ever going to get somewhere. And so being hit with sort of that awareness was what finally made me realize I do need these things. I don't know how to do these things and I need somebody to show me.
And so you made the decision, which I was really happy about. And you came and you showed up and you did the work and you got coached. And it was really interesting, I think, what happened to you, which again, it's like, I feel like I need the disclaimer on the, when you have like the, oh my gosh, what are they called? Like the prescription commercials where it's like not like
not FDA approved.
Yeah. Like not all results, are typical or whatever. And I think it's because you just did the work. Like you weren't all caught up in the mindset stuff. You were like very practical about the building of the assets. And you were like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And you did.
And I did it in 4 months. I finished 2 months early.
Yeah. And I think it's because your prior experience helped for sure. I want to acknowledge that for those that have no client experience, it is a little bit more challenging because you feel like you're sort of grasping at the beginning because you don't have sort of that precedent of client experience, which is fine. It's not impossible. It's a little more challenging. And so you finished in 4 months and you launched. And I want to talk about not necessarily sort of what you did to launch, but I want to talk about the power of focus and really looking at this like a business, like a holistic business, and not just you have a coaching offer or you have a TikTok following. Like you really, and I think that is one of the reasons that you were able to gain really sustainable momentum really quickly was because you did look at it like in its totality, a business and not just, oh, I have a coaching program, right?
Yeah. And because it was like a calendar year, it was what are all the things that I need to do to get to my end goal, which was a dollar amount in my mind. Like I remember saying to my husband, if I can make $150,000 in 1 year, I will have hit it out of the park. I'll be a real business. I won't be a hobby. Like this will be amazing. And that was a goal that I had. And so I was thinking to myself through all the things you were teaching us, having a webinar, following a calendar plan, having your marketing materials, showing up on social media, what's going to work for me and my schedule? What's going to be available to me? What do I want to do so I don't hate what I'm doing and I actually enjoy it? Because if you're not happy in what you're doing, you're not going to be successful. You do have to enjoy it. Yeah. And as the years have progressed, I enjoy what I do so much. I built a team. I now have, 4 other team members amongst myself. I can go on vacation, like Lori said. And I went last week for 5 days. I'm going away for 2 weeks in the next month. And I go away, but life still happens. And when I'm here, I enjoy it. And when I'm away, I enjoy it. And I love my team. So I think it's thinking about where do you want to go and then kind of backtrack so that you can get to those goals.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really helped you, and for those listening, this is something that I wish somebody told me, but my mentors were men and they're, Tia and I both have kids. And so my mentors were men and their wives were at home with the kids, right? So they were, free and clear to work as much, travel as much, do whatever. And I modeled that, not realizing that there were other options. And so one of the most beautiful things that you did from day one, because I remember how you're like, these are my hours and I'm not going over them. So how do I make this work? Working, what was it? Like 20, 25, whatever. It was like between 9 and 3 p.m.
It was like 8 to 2:30 and that was it. And I still kind of 8 to 2:30 and then I bring my kids home or drop them at their sports and then do a little bit more. But I'm happy to do the little bit more. It's not because I feel like I need to. It's because I actually enjoy it and it works for me. And my kids are getting older. They're 14 and almost 12 now. So as your time progresses as a mom and as your kids age, your business can grow and you'll see what works for you. But having boundaries for yourself is so important. And I think that once you step over your own boundaries, then you're letting everything else take over yourself instead of you sort of being that CEO of what you want to build.
Yes. So let's talk about the power of focus, the singularity of focus, and how you were able to build a multi-six-figure per year online coaching business, working, 8:30 to 2, sometimes a little over, because I think a lot of people are like, no way, that's not possible. And we've had many practitioners and coaches who do it in, 20, 25 hours a week because, and this is the hardest part for people, is actually staying super focused and not trying to implement 100 different things at one time. Because the roadmap to where Tia has gotten is actually quite simple on paper. Like if you were to look at her business on paper, you'd be like, that's it. And it is. Same with mine. Like, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So can you just give us sort of a walkthrough of how people find you, how they get into your world, and how you enroll them, just so people can see the simplicity of it?
Yeah. So we've sort of adjusted our marketing campaigns over the years, figuring out what really hits home for parents, what hits their pain points, what makes them realize I need help, just like Lori did with my awareness flags. And so currently really what we do, and it is quite simple, we do 6 live workshops a year. I don't run a webinar. I did a webinar for a lot of years, but I now do a paid workshop and it works really, really well for us. And so every other month I run an hour and a half live workshop from my at-home office in the evening. And it's amazing. That is an $87 workshop, which brings people into our program. On the outside months of those workshops, we run what we call an open house. That means I bring people into my actual coaching program on the back end so they can listen in, see what it's like to have coaching, ask their questions. And that's a free opportunity. So it's basically workshop, open house throughout the year. And then on top of that, I show up on social media. I send 2 emails out a week. I have a team that helps me schedule those out. That's something I don't like doing on my do not want to do list that Lori had me create. And beyond that, it's, I'm thinking bigger picture. How do I get on more television opportunities? How do I affiliate with more people? How do I reach that 7-figure goal? That's now my next goal.
I love that. And I know that, for many years, it was, a lead magnet, a webinar, and then an enrollment call into the program. And that was that. And I think the beauty of this, which for maybe a lot of practitioners and coaches where they don't even know, what an online business is, it's not running 100 different offers. It's not coming up, well, at least in my world and what we teach, it's not creating new things all the time. It's really, to Tia's point, identifying the marketing campaigns that you love doing and doing the same ones over and over and over again. And the reason that they work is because you're constantly bringing new people into your world through paid ads and organic. And that's
that, Lori. I'm still lead magneting. I still have my same lead magnet that I created in 10K. I have other ones, but that one still has a 78% conversion rate. It's amazing.
I run lead magnets from 2018.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's the same process. It's lead magnet, bring them in, do the marketing campaign that works, get them onto a call with, which is now myself or somebody else on my sales team, and bring them into my offer, which I used to charge less for. Now I charge more for. And that's another, I know, paradigm that so many people get stuck on is no one's ever going to pay that price. No one's ever going to buy my program at that rate.
What did you start off charging?
I started off at $14.97 Canadian, and my husband was like, no way, nobody's going to buy that. Are you kidding me? You should do the $9.97, which was another offer you had suggested. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to do the $14.97. And on the $14.97 price, I had sold enough programs to make back my 10K investment before my graduation date. So once you sell one, it lights a fire in you. You're like, hey, I can do it. If one will do it, others will do it.
Yep. And now what do you charge?
$5,000 USD for my same program, which is the 10K program. I have an upper level, which offers some one-on-one, which is a 10K offer. And we charge in US dollars because we have so many clients from around the world.
Yeah. And so Tia, just to remind all of you listening, not to minimize realize this, but Tia's a parenting coach and she's charging $5,000 to work with her for how many weeks?
12 weeks in a group, or 10,000 for 6 months group and 6 one-on-ones over a 6-month period.
Yeah. And so this is what's possible. This is what's possible. And again, she didn't start off charging that. She started charging, $14.97 with a husband who didn't believe that that was possible. And so, it's the focus, it's the power of singularity where, you might be thinking, oh gosh, I don't have the confidence to do that. Not right now. Of course not, not when you're just starting. But I think the beauty of the model that we teach is this focus and these like micro improvements over time where you're not constantly switching focus to go over here and switching focus to try this thing over there. It's like, people who work with us and they're like, I did my webinar. I'm like, great, do it again. And they're like, I did my webinar. I'm like, fab, do it again, and like, let's make this one tweak. Let's make this, because what we're doing, which I think people don't, again, you don't know what you don't know. And so when practitioners and coaches work with us, what we're doing is we're taking what they have and we're improving it over time to hit milestones, to hit, conversion rates, to hit sales rates. Like we set a bar and then we work on the thing until it hits that number. And then we say, okay, great, let's increase the price or let's, add on or whatever. But we're not constantly switching from thing to thing to thing to thing, because that leads to burnout and that doesn't get you anywhere. And the whole goal is to work smarter, not harder, and to actually have free time. And if you're constantly creating new things and you're not working on the one webinar or the one workshop or the one open house, you can't ever get to this rinse and repeat stage, which is like the coveted stage.
Yeah, for sure. And even when I look back at my program that I developed in 10K, I haven't changed it. Not one thing have I adjusted on it. I haven't even edited it. It's exactly as it was in 2020, as it is today, with a price change and everything. You just get more confident, like you're saying. You get better at your coaching. You get better at understanding what your clients need. And everything just starts to come into flow. And that's why I think it's so important what you do and having a few things you're focusing on so that you can build that confidence. And once you have that confidence, that's when you're like, oh, you know what? I am going to try this one thing because I'm kind of bored of this and my energy isn't there, or this isn't actually getting enough sales. But until you like rinse and repeat the things, it's hard to see outside of that.
And even let's talk about this workshop for a second, because I know that you were trying a couple different ways to offer it. And so I think this conversation is really important, because it's not like Tia was like, one time, oh, I did the workshop and it didn't work. It's like, no, I know if I can sell the workshop, then people want it. And I also know that people want to join my program. So I know those two things. Now, how do I use this asset, this marketing campaign, this workshop to do what I want it to do for me? And that's where the trial and error with this one thing comes into play. Do you want to talk a little bit about the different things that you tried with it?
Yeah. So at first we started at $47 and I had a TikTok go viral, which if any time you have one viral thing, it's like, I had like 200 people sign up and I was like, holy moly, this is amazing. So I'm going to raise my price. So I raised the price after that to 87, but then I didn't have a viral TikTok. So the influx was different. So you start to realize when you're going to get more people, how you get more people. But my mistakes with my workshop originally weren't so much the content in the workshop. People have always been really happy with the content and I haven't really adjusted it much. The only thing I've done over time is realized I never asked them to book a call after my workshop. I just sort of finished my workshop and then I was like, okay, now what? And waited for them to come back. And when they did finally book a call, I'd say, how'd you find me? Oh, we took your workshop. And then I was like, whoa, I need to actually be asking them to book a call on the workshop. So we adjusted a few slides and brought some more awareness. And then we made the mistake of not closing off our calendar 2 days after a workshop. And then there was no room for calls. And then now our team closes off 2 days after. We open it up the night of the workshop. We influx those calls. And now we actually have like a full system.
Yeah. And I know, you can take that workshop and I think once you get it to a place that you love, you can run it evergreen. Like you don't have to do it live, right? That would be like the next step. And people say to me all the time too, like, well, do I have to do it live? I'm like, you sure do. You sure do have to do it live, like a lot of times.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about why that is?
Well, you have to do it a lot of times because if you don't do it a lot of times, your energy's not in it and they're not going to believe you. So if you just show up and record something, it's a completely different, for the person listening in, it is just a recording like the Peanuts of Charlie Brown. And when you do it over and over, it's almost like you have somebody somebody in the chat and you know what they're going to say. And you start to realize every single time you give the workshop, the same moment you're getting people saying like, oh my gosh, that's me. It happens to me every night. My kids are always not going to bed. And you're like, okay, this is where you hype your energy. This is where you bring in a question that they can relate to. And if you don't do it live, you'll never know that.
Yep, absolutely. And it's the same thing for enrollment calls. People say to me all the time, practitioners go, I don't want to do sales calls. I don't want to do sales calls. I'm like, you're missing out on such valuable intel when you don't do these enrollment calls, because on these enrollment calls, just like in the chat, this is where you really start to understand your ideal client. This is where you really start to learn their language and what activates them and what resonates with them, especially if you are a new practitioner or coach and you don't have a ton of client experience. And I would even say, even if you do have a ton of offline, it's not the same thing, right? It's not the same thing, because if you were in a clinic, for example, if you are having somebody find you from TikTok or from Instagram, you are a stranger to them. The trust level is not there. They're not coming to your clinic. They're not physically seeing you. They're not feeling your energy. And so the gold is really found in the comments, in the live interaction when you're on your webinar or a workshop or a live or on your enrollment calls, because the reality is that all of these things convert. Like your webinar will convert, your workshop will convert when you know the awareness flags, when you know those hot buttons that you can put in there to build resonance, to build trust as you go through, the workshop, the webinar, whatever it is, right?
What's amazing about it is when you do those, few marketing things that you really enjoy and you do your enrollment calls, they're kind of the same thing. And at the beginning, I know even for myself, I remember feeling like, ugh, icky. I don't want to do a sales call. I don't want to quote unquote take somebody's money. Am I worth their money? And you have all of these thoughts that the sales call is kind of an icky thing. And as time goes on, you just realize like it's just a phone call and it's just a way to support them. And if they want your support, amazing. And if they don't, amazing. It's their life, their choice. And as soon as you can start to realize that it's just an opportunity for these people to get some support from you. And it's not about taking their money. It's not about, because you're going to help them. Like they're lucky they get to give you their money so that you can support them. So think about the enrollment calls or your webinar or your workshop as just, I'm here supporting people. And if you can go into everything with support as your top mind focus, I feel like things fall into place so much easier than I need to make this sale. I need this money. I shouldn't take their money. All those negative thoughts don't help move you forward.
Yeah, absolutely. What does a day in a life look like for you?
Well, it's 8 a.m. right now and we're recording a podcast and my kids are eating their breakfast and getting ready for school. But typically, I take my kids to school and I come back. I have these amazing sticky notes that have 5 check marks. And I usually think either the night before or the first 15 minutes of my day, what are the 3 to 5 things that I want to get done today that are my actual. You've got yours.
See, we have systems. They're not fancy. They're Post-it notes and Sharpies.
Yeah, they're Post-it notes. Yeah. But if I put down those 3 to 5 things that I really want to focus on, one for me, I'm taking steps and focusing on actionable items that are moving me towards my goal, even that if that is just writing an email or doing those sort of like daily tasks. But I have those. I really try and schedule out my calendar where I don't allow clients to book in Mondays or Fridays. They will sales calls or enrollment calls or clients will book Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Mondays are my CEO day where I will focus on kind of organizing things. And then Fridays are really my free day. I'll work if I want to work, but if I don't want to work, there's no guilt in that and I will enjoy myself. Usually pick my kids up from school. I leave the house at 2:30. I drive them to their sports or home for whatever they have. And then I'll usually do another call or 2 and I'll finish around 5. But some days I finish at 2:30 and that's also okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that so much. We actually also just went to a 4-day work week, not at the beginning of, I don't remember when, but we did it, not too long ago. And it was always like, oh, is this, really going to work? And, we work off of a 32-hour work week and, we have hundreds and hundreds of clients. And so I think there's this concept out there that, you have to either be working all the time or be available to your clients and be available to answer emails. And, we have, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of clients who get support Monday through Thursday. Mm-hmm. Like that's it. And so, the the message really is when you have these few things that are working, and it does take a minute to get them working, but they will work, you can really establish whatever work scenario you want for yourself. And it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. But the truth is that if you don't go in looking at this like a business and looking at it with boundaries, it will overtake your life. It has the potential to overtake your life, just like anything else, right?
Yeah. And you start to feel like you have to grind it out to be successful. And yes, there were moments where I was grinding and I was working really hard to get something completed and get something out there. But if you know when you need to focus and you give yourself time to relax, it will fall into place. But working harder doesn't always mean that you're going to be more successful. It's like Lori said earlier, it is about working smarter. And I believe that means having coaches and having mentors and having people who walked that path before you. Because yes, I was a kindergarten teacher with my master's and certified in parenting and a parent myself, but I was not a business owner. And I still work with coaches and I still take classes and I'm still always learning because I'm still not at the goal that I want my end goal to be. And I need somebody to show me how to do that so that I don't grind it out. So that it's enjoyable.
Yeah. And listen, same here. I still pay mentors. I still pay consultants because what got you here won't get you there. And I think that's the biggest, misconception is like, oh, I'm certified. I'm good to go. And it's like, but are you certified in business? Like, do you know how to do these things? Because knowing how to be a parenting coach is not the same thing as knowing how to use Facebook ads, for example. Tia will DM me and she'll be like, what does this mean? And how do I do this? And, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm so glad to be asked those questions because me as a mentor, I would feel horrible if she went out and wasted a ton of money on something that I could have easily been like, please don't do that. Do it this way. You're not ready for that yet. Let's do it this way first because I have the experience. I have the wisdom. I have the hindsight, not because I went to school to get an MBA, but because I've been there, done that. I'm not going to give somebody advice on, something I haven't done myself, but I think that's the beauty of really making these investments and knowing that these investments aren't just a one-time thing, that you should seek the wisdom and seek the mentorship. Like, why wouldn't I don't know. We could talk about this too, because it so blows my mind as to like, why on earth would you want to do this on your own? Like, why?
It's one of those things where you're going to look back and say, I should have just started it sooner. I should have just asked for help sooner because we're scrambling. It's, I say to parents, parenting's a learned skill. It's not intuitive. So if you're using your intuition, you're guessing and you're second guessing. The same thing with running a business. It is a learned skill. It is not intuitive. Like looking at your income and in your expenses, making sure that you're paying your employees the right way, like all things that I never thought I would think about. Because mark my words, I told Lori, I'm never having a team.
I don't want a team.
I'm going to do this by myself. And then all of a sudden, here I am. I have a team. So you need people and you need support. And it can sometimes be lonely running an online business. And that's why I feel like mentorship is good for your soul. And it just sort of helps you see you're not the only one. Everybody's gone through these challenges. As you grow, you have legal issues. You have all kinds of things that you're like, oh my gosh. And you need people to talk to. And so I think finding somebody that aligns with you, that you feel drawn to. I felt really drawn to Lori. She's like a no kind of crap kind of lady. And I liked that. And follow that person and follow their lead and follow your dreams.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for this convo.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thanks everybody for listening. I really do hope that this was helpful. I always try and, bring the transparency and just operate under the mantra, you can't model what you don't see. And it doesn't have to be as difficult as you're making it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.